So when I was in college, Napster was a thing. So I'd had some experience with like the file sharing thing. But after that, I moved to Oregon and it was still pretty much for me back to a CD only world. Like I wasn't doing a ton of file sharing. And so when I started begging this guy I knew at CD Baby for a job all the time, it was because I knew it as a CD distributor and I was selling my CD there. So that felt really exciting to me that something like akin to like Discord Records in DC, like in the 80s, that was like one of the only indie label success stories, was becoming more and more a thing through CD Baby, where artists could, yeah,
Yeah.
move units directly to fans. So that's why I wanted to work at CD Baby. Once I got the job, iTunes was basically a brand new thing, and they were just internally at CD Baby trying to figure out how to deliver music in a very efficient, not entirely manual way. I don't know exactly how the revenue broke down, but when I started, I imagine most of the revenue came from CD sales.
Yeah.
Um, since then, obviously, iTunes was almost the entire digital music ecosystem back then. And that sort of started breaking apart with the introduction of YouTube and on demand streaming. Pandora was a thing too, I guess, but mostly the money was coming from iTunes. Then that shifted to streaming. And now we're in this world where social videos are a huge part of monetizing music, but also breaking artists. And things feel like they have changed. I don't even know. Many, 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 many times.
Yeah. As far as consumption, when we started the podcast, definitely album format was the format. You might find some singles on iTunes because iTunes was still new. So people were still treating the digital world like the physical world. And that's some of the things people complain about with the digital world are still holdovers of creating a digital ecosystem based on the physical world instead of just reimagining what it could be without thinking it has to be tied to some physical medium that has limitations. It was definitely people were consuming a full album and artists were still really operating by that release cycle that the traditional business set up. But yeah, I think the one thing that was interesting to see because with music consumption, there was really two tracks that we've seen over the years. It's that what the fan community wants or is going to adopt because there's been lots of things that they haven't adopted, like mini disc or DAT recordings and all these other digital formats that had been tried in the past. What the fan community, how they want to engage with music. And then on the other side, this growing independent market that wants to fully monetize themselves and what works best for that agenda. And those two things are not always aligned,
They don't always dance together, right?
as we can see with the state of affairs we find ourselves in with how streaming works and streaming payout works. It's really geared towards fan consumption, a model that's based on that compared to someone who has a product they want to sell and get compensated for.
As the speed at which you can access exactly what you want in music accelerated, you didn't need to get a full album, like you said. So deep cuts aren't always such a great thing anymore. Like people just wanted the one song. And with iTunes, they could do that legally. They can make a purchase of one song, which radically changed the demand for albums. And artists who wanted to make albums as a statement suddenly had to confront whether that was worth it or not. Like their own sense of artistry was challenged by what the consumer or the fan was really demanding. So it went from like album to song, but with TikTok, it's gone from song to hook. So now it's like 15 seconds of a really good chorus or particular lyric that lines up with a meme or a dance or something might really be all that's being demanded in that context. So everything's gotten smaller, shorter attention spans. This is no secret to anyone, but I do
We're
feel like
getting
it's
dumber is what's happening.
we're getting faster at being dumber. Is that
Yeah, self-imposed ADHD or something where it's like, "Wait, can't look. No, wait, what's going on?" Yeah, it's really interesting to have seen that progression.
well, and then as that changed and as the digital ways of content proliferation, but also collecting content identification and collecting royalties changed, it moved artists away from that. I don't know if it was a sort of middle class local musician heyday in the late 90s, early 2000s, where an artist could think, well, I'm going to make 1,000 CDs and I'll probably sell them all. And that'll set me up. What's $10 times 1,000 is enough to make the next record. So there was this way in which we all thought, oh, this system works. We're set to at least recoup some money to put into the next recording in a predictable way.
Yeah.
But the technology changed that.